The Power of Agile, hosted by Nagaro.
Welcome to The Power of Agile, the show that delves into the world of agile coaching, leadership, and organizational excellence. I'm your host, Gurpreet Bhadesh, and today's episode is Sociocracy, Rocking Project since 1851. Yes, you heard that right. Sociocracy may seem like a modern concept, but its roots trace back over a century ago. And to walk us through this, we have Michael Frank with us today, a global practice lead here at Nagaro. So, welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Gurpreet. Happy to be there. Excited and thrilled to spend the next couple of minutes with you.
Great stuff. And before we get stuck into this topic, I've got some questions for you that are slightly off topic, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So firstly, what's your motto in life?
Yeah, that's easy. It's if you want to win forever, you have to always compete.
Okay, so you've got a competitive side to you then.
Absolutely. being an American football coach, I think that comes naturally.
I see. And do you have quite a few siblings? Or?
Yeah, a younger one. Don't compete with him, I think. Okay. But the greatest challenge or competition is with myself.
Yeah, okay. No, that's a good way of looking at it, actually. And secondly, name something that's on your bucket list.
Well, biggest thing on the bucket list is getting the house ready and complete, and yeah, cleaning up all the minor stuff that still needs to be done.
Right. So you're doing DIY improvements at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's always a huge task.
Yes.
But I'm sure you'll get there. And then finally, what's your best useless talent?
Useless talent. Yeah. I'm very, very good at ignoring reminders, and I mean, I recall a situation where my wife put something on my shoe so I don't forget to take it with me, and of course I just moved it away and put on my shoes and forget about it. So.
Okay, interesting. And thanks for sharing those. And now let's get to know more about sociocracy. So tell me, what exactly is sociocracy?
Yeah. So, I mean, the literal meaning of sociocracy means something like the rule of companions, right? So the term is coming on the one side from the Latin term socios, which means companion or friend. Mm-hmm. And the suffix, the cracy, comes out of the ancient Greek, kratos, which means power or rule, right?
Right.
And so sociocracy is a governance approach for organizations, and I mean the project is an organization in itself.
Yeah.
That emphasizes collaborative decision making, constant decision making, and basically ensuring that people who are affected by decisions can influence them.
Right. Okay. So does that mean like it's a mutual process, almost like, you know, when a decision is made and somebody is impacted by that, is it almost like you get approval from them, or you make sure that they're okay with that? Like,
yeah, let's at least have them have a say in it, right? So
they almost shape the decision together.
Exactly. So
yeah.
the rule of the social group, right? Mm-hmm. So the people working together, forming the organization and the future they want,
yeah,
that they think is valuable and reasonable, right?
I see. I mean, it's quite a good approach actually, because they're more likely to buy into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like goal setting, right? Like if you involve the individual, they're more likely to succeed and be more invested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what that requires is certain kind of education or informedness about things, mm-hmm. because you want to just don't decide on anything that you don't have any clue about it, right? So you want to have that we should know what's going on and what impact a certain decision might have, right? Mm-hmm. So have the broader view of things. It's not something that you just can do and based on the gut feelings decide on something. Right?
Yeah.
So all the arguments have to somehow be based on facts.
Right.
In stopping decisions, you can't go with, well, I don't like that. That's not an argument that is based on facts, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, you have to support it, of course.
Absolutely.
So obviously you've got this collaborative approach in mind. How does this differ from other governance models?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what we are mostly used in organizations or in projects. There's one guy taking the decisions, right? The project lead, the CEO, whatsoever, which is some kind of autocratic governance style.
Yeah.
That on the one hand is maybe super fast in doing decisions, but on the other hand, how can one individual know what's going on within the whole organization? And so,
of course, because you have experts at different levels.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, and
Yeah.
we really want to bring the decisions to the level where the informations are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So right at the front line, when people know what's going on, and they are the experts for their situation right at hand. And
yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And I mean, compared to democracy, maybe the majority of the not the majority decisions are taken by majority votes, right?
Yeah.
And so democracy would say it's like the rule of the people.
Mm-hmm.
They would elect representatives,
right? Yeah.
Which then does decisions based on majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's the difference to sociocracy, where you have not the rule of the people, but the role of the social group, and everybody in the social group can influence the decisions, right? So you don't delegate that, but you really participate in it.
Interesting. Okay. And seen as sociocracy, I mean, it dates back to 1851. Could you argue that it's already outdated?
Well, no, I don't think so. So, I mean, August Comte firstly coined the term sociocracy,
mm-hmm.
and he imagined a world that is run by scientists that take a scientific approach to governing states and organizations, and he called these scientists sociologists, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's where the term has been coined. And then it developed further and said, okay, we just can't have a small group of people doing that. We really want to like involve everybody.
Yeah.
So Lester Ward approved that meaning or that concept of sociocracy, and he made the case for having like an educated population that is able to really govern itself, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So yeah. And from that onwards, this concept constantly evolved and moved further ahead, and finally in the Netherlands in the 1970s, there was this guy Gerrit Enenberg, who ran an electronics company, and he really brought that governance approach of sociocracy to the family business, and founded the sociocratic circle method, where you basically organize the organization, and in that case the company, not in teams or divisions or departments, but really in circles with of people with equal to each other.
Yeah.
So talking eye to eye level and not have any leaders. And they also brought in that concept of consent decision making. And from that onwards, holacracy is like the commercial spin-off to the sociocratic way of doing things. And then I think the last adoption is called Sociocracy 3.0.
That's the most recent one.
Yeah, that's the most recent one. James Priest was one of the founders there, and they take into account all the lean and agile principles. So sociocracy itself is constantly evolving, right? and enriched with patterns that are adopted to the needs and demands of this ever faster spinning world. So I don't think you can coin or say that is outdated. It has evolved since back then to fit the needs of today's world.
And that's the most important thing, right? With any kind of concept or theory these days, it has to constantly be adapted, because we have such an evolving landscape, right? That there's no one approach that fits all.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think sociocracy perfectly takes that into account, especially the last way of doing things as S3, that is consider themselves as menu of patterns that are useful for an organization, and you just pick what you think fits your context and see if it's valid or not, and if not, you throw it away and bring in the next pattern.
Exactly. And I think if I remember correctly, on one of our earlier episodes we spoke about this, and it was about keeping what works and only changing what's not working, right?
Absolutely.
And normally the idea is, no, we have to go for this big bang approach and change absolutely everything.
You don't have to fix anything that ain't broken.
Yeah. And that's a really good concept to keep in mind. So given its age, right, why do you think Sociocracy hasn't gained recognition?
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good question. I mean, first and foremost, I think one of the reasons might be there's no business model behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's free for everybody to use and bring it in.
It's a bit too flexible, would you say?
Probably. No, there's no huge marketing campaign around all this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most commercialized version is Holacracy that you may or may not have heard of. But I mean, it took quite some time until the material was available in English language, right? It's like
yes.
Also founded in Europe and then in Hamburg in the Netherlands. They fostered the approach and so forth. But only in 2007 there was the first English book on this. It was like called We the People, which made the content available for the English-speaking world. And then just only a year later, Holacracy has been established.
I see. Okay.
So although we have roots in 80-50 or something,
mm-hmm.
it still took us to 2007 until it was available for the whole world in a language that everybody could understand.
And that would, of course, affect the universal, let's say, adoption to an extent as well.
Absolutely. And as mentioned, that I think the people who are driving this movement, they're somehow philanthropic or humanistic, or they just want to improve the world and make it a better place and establish a work environment where people are treating itself equally and so forth, and there's no interest in making money with that. And therefore it's also like not that huge broadcast of, hey, this is the only way you do it, and I can teach you how to do it, and just give me the money for coaching you and educating you or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's not just there.
But I mean, I'm just thinking, actually, I'm wondering if this has come about more on the scene since COVID as well. You know, what with the ways of working changing as well. Do you think that kind of almost sped up the adoption rate here to an extent?
It might be, and on the other hand, there also might be a marketing issue here,
mm-hmm.
because you can't say, hey, this company does Sociocracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we just bring in certain patterns that work for us.
It's not like you're taking all of it. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe if you do Holacracy, okay, then you could say, hey, it's an operating model for organization,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, we do Holacracy.
Yeah.
But for S3, for example, if you bring in the concept of concept decision making, that very pattern. Okay, so we do that with teams. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Do we now do Sociocracy?
Yeah.
Or not? I mean, yeah, and other patterns in that, it's like, limiting work in progress, right? So every Kanban team limits work in progress.
Yeah. Do
we now do Sociocracy? Well, I don't know. So that might be very hard to grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for example, like the patterns in S3 allows you to build a Scrum framework, for example,
mm-hmm.
right? So everything that you have in Scrum is available in Sociocracy. The daily check-ins, the review, the retrospectives, right. Making work visible, limiting work in process, asking the customer for feedback. So all of that is there. So I mean, basically, if you do Scrum, you apply a couple of patterns that are available in Sociocracy as well.
Of course, and depending on the project, you're tweaking it and seeing what works best for that
Absolutely.
Particular client. So what role would you say Sociocracy takes in agile teams?
It can take a role.
Yeah.
as mentioned, I think.
Because you mentioned there's
elements, absolutely.
Right?
So I mean, basically, like a couple of patterns are applied naturally.
Yeah.
The teams can decide to bring in other patterns as well. Things like proposal forming, for example, like
right.
a structured way on how to make proposals, or what I constantly bring in with the HR teams I work with is that consent decision making pattern. So that teams don't do decisions based on consensus or majority vote, but like on that concept decision making.
Okay. Do you find that there's elements of sociocracy that are used more in projects within certain industries versus other industries? Do you see any kind of pattern there by any chance?
No, really not. I think it's so agnostic to any kind of industry and company size or organization size. So small projects, big projects, startups, scale-ups, large corporations. I think that there are patterns for organizational structures in there, right? So you could form multi-layer organizations with patterns taken out of sociocracy.
Right.
So yeah, I think it just depends on the willingness of the delegators, of the decision makers.
Yeah. On adopting it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I see. Okay, and are you able to give any examples of where we are using this? Yeah.
So first of all, I mean, we're using it internally because we have that kind of circle structure.
That's true. Yeah.
With Nagaro. So that's a pattern taken out of sociocracy, right? We like basically each project I start off with clients. I try to define the domains for their project, which is a pattern out of sociocracy.
Okay.
We define the drivers, right?
Yes.
What is the motivation to do things?
Which is so important. It's
Absolutely.
The basis, right? Yeah.
And a pattern out of sociocracy. and then I'll bring in like proposal forming, concept decision making. So at least 10 to 15 patterns we do at every project, right?
That's true. Like the feedback loop, the meetings, the setting the criteria together with the client in terms of what should be prioritized versus what can potentially wait.
Absolutely.
It's that mutual decision making process, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I can say I've seen it in quite a few projects, and I think it's just very natural. Yeah. It's flexible. Like
absolutely. And I think many of these patterns just make explicit what feels natural to people. Right? Expressing concerns, expressing emotions.
Yeah.
Allow everybody to ask questions, share opinions, and then have. I mean, that's just a normal conversation that we're having, right? What do you think about that? Well, I don't like it. Okay, do you have any better proposal? Well, yeah, maybe that. And it's just a structured way of doing what we anyway would do.
Yeah.
With avoiding that wasteful, lengthy discussions around it.
True. It's humanizing it to an extent,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Okay. And is this? I mean, have you mentioned you can apply this in any type of project? Have you found any benefits in big projects or small projects, or is it pretty much the same across the board?
I think for bigger, I mean for small projects, it works pretty neat. In bigger projects, I think the greatest benefit I've observed is that you so quickly know who does what and who is responsible for what.
Right.
With the domain concept of clearly defining areas of influence and allowing the pattern that's called navigate via attention. So you identify attention in the system or something that hasn't been defined yet, right? And you would exactly know, okay, am I responsible for that particular? Is it within my domain? No, it's not. Is there a domain that can take care of it? Hey, folks, there is something.
Right.
Would you be willing to take care of it? And they said, no, it's not in our area of influence, like our domain either. All right, then we bring it to the governance board, and then we deal with it.
Right.
Right.
Would you? And that's because it's such a large.
Exactly. I don't see too many traditional projects structured in a way that allows for this. So normally there's always, we should do that. Then everybody agrees, and then nothing happens.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Situation you definitely want to avoid. And so we've spoken about sociocracy. We've spoken about how flexible it is and how it's being used more and more in day-to-day projects. I'm curious, what are the obstacles or downsides to implementing sociocracy? I mean, have you experienced that side of things?
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest challenge, also for myself, is that you have to unlearn so many behaviors you have accustomed to over your especially business life, right?
That's so true.
You're coming from the traditional org design with the hierarchies and the structures and the central decision makers at the top.
Yeah.
And Sociocracy really invites you and asks you to share your opinion and actively shape the future of the organization and actively take decisions. And when I'm moderating or facilitating a meeting, I so much want to like please everybody, or that everybody's comfortable with the decision being made, which is really not in the interest of consent decision making, right? So you have to get out of there and say, okay, is the decision good enough for now, safe enough to try?
Yeah. And
then let's take it forward, right? It doesn't, everybody has to agree on it. It's just, is there any veto? Like any objections? No? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, which is also sometimes difficult, because imagine you've got an individual who comes from a traditional hierarchical structure previously. They're used to decisions being put on them, right? And then you say, are there any objections? No. But no doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's brought into it as well. Yeah. That's a huge one, actually.
Absolutely, it is. So, and I think that's also, there's like two ways of introducing Sociocracy to a project or an organization.
Yeah.
I think that the one is that you decide at the very beginning, hey, we do that, right? And we all commit to it, and let's see, which might lead to like resistance up front that you have to overcome with, and then you have to train everybody on the concepts, and that might be a huge investment. And the other concept of bringing it in is called Sociocracy by stealth. And just in any kind of meeting say, hey folks, are you up to trying out consent decision making? I just want to try something, right, and see how that works.
Right.
And then you just apply it, right? And if it works out, you stick with it. And then I think maybe we should visualize everything that we do on the board.
Yeah.
So is that a cool thing? Yeah. Okay, then we keep it, right? And then you're doing pattern by pattern.
That's one way of looking at it. So almost like throwing them in, seeing if they swim, and if they do, great, and if they don't, then obviously you try the alternative approach. Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. And you've mentioned this quite a few times in the podcast, consent based, right? What does it mean in terms of sociocracy? Yeah.
So as mentioned, I think that the biggest distinction into other ways of doing decisions is that you're not looking to have everybody on board, right? Okay. So if you ask for consensus, right, which you normally do in the team, so do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Right? And then you have that lengthy discussions because somebody is disagreeing, and you want to make him feel or her comfortable carrying the decision and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you compromise, which most of the time is only a very small step towards the goal, and you waste discussion time, you waste speed and all of that. And in consent decision making, you say, okay, this is the proposal that's on the table.
Yeah.
Are there any objections to that? And if someone would have an objection, that objection better has to be based on facts. So the argument they are making has to be based on facts.
Yeah.
So just, I don't like that decision, isn't based on facts. So my gut feeling tells me, well, that's great, you have a gut feeling, but what's the argument? What's the fact that you base your argument on?
Yeah.
Right? And if there is one, and there might be one, then you would integrate that argument into the proposal, and this allows minorities to be heard. So minorities that in, for example, majority vote would always like lose with their opinion or would be overvoted. So we ensure that consent decision making that an unpopular opinion that is based on a fact is heard as well and maybe integrated, because maybe someone sees something that the others don't see or wants to warn us from any kind of danger.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to figure out, would that decision harm us in any way, or this would harm the goal of the organization in any way? If not, is the decision to be made good enough for now, safe enough to try?
Yeah.
and if nobody disagrees, then we take it from there.
It's
and
great,
we anyway could evolve the decision next time, rather come back to it and
Yeah, but I like what you said. So it's not about everybody necessarily agreeing, right? Yes. Because can you imagine in an IT project, you put a bunch of developers together, you're never going to get a mutual agreement, right?
Absolutely.
So I think, I can understand why that's really useful. And how would you envision the future? So do you think sociocracy is here to stay? Or do you think it will, I mean, you already mentioned it will evolve as time goes on?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a bit afraid that it won't gain big traction.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think like with no marketing machinery behind it, or like not that interest in making big money out of it. I think there's the danger of being not heard in the world out there. I definitely can see that it is here to stay. Maybe in a smaller degree.
Yes.
But I think it's so natural for people to apply it, and it feels it's so easy to do it, because it's
so flexible.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So I just can't imagine a future where that goes away. Yeah. And for example, I mean, and there are also states making strides in this. Like for example, in the Netherlands, if you can demonstrate that your company is applying sociocracy as organizational governance model, then it frees you up from having a work council, for example.
Okay. So that's a benefit, right?
Absolutely, all right. And there might be other states jumping on board, or more organizations.
Yeah.
And I hope it gets bigger. But I'm a little bit skeptical.
Time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think let's see if it gains the traction that's needed. But at the same time, I think it's so flexible, which is great. However, on the other side of that, right, people might look at it and think it's so flexible, we don't know where to start, which is daunting in itself. So that could be the other side of it. And I think again it goes back to the organizational dynamics and what someone's used to. Imagine if somebody comes from a traditional hierarchical structure, they're probably more used to somebody being like, right, here's the process, this is exactly what you need to follow to achieve success, right? And so then they're probably a bit more reluctant to kind of adopt something like this. And
on the other hand, you can also say maybe it's a ask for us as consultants and coaches out there to spread the word and show organizations the value of it. And
I mean, I feel like we're living and breathing it as it is, right?
Absolutely. So demonstrating the benefits and how much quicker and efficient decisions might be made, and how more people can feel involved and commit to a certain objective by applying sociocratic patterns.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just our task to make it broader and bigger.
And that concludes this episode. Michael, thank you for sharing insights into sociocracy and real-world lessons that truly make a difference in the world of agile coaching.
It's been a pleasure, Gurpreet, man. Thanks for having me. I hope our listeners find it useful.
Thank you, absolutely. And for our listeners out there, if you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your feedback means everything to us. And before we part ways, let's recap some key takeaways from today's episode.
Yeah, sure. So my key takeaways would be that sociocracy is a governance approach for organizations and projects of any size. Which means the role of the social group, and that ensures that people that are affected by decisions are part of the decisions. It's been here around for quite a long time, so the patterns have been improved and refined and fit need of today's world. So it feels very natural to apply them, and I think it invites us to be reasonable and ensure efficient and effective decision making along the way.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, right, so you mentioned involving individuals in the decision-making process. What really stood out to me was the concept of consent-based. So if there are any objections, making sure that they're actually based on facts rather than opinions. And finally, the biggest thing is if it's not working, don't change it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you once again, Michael, for joining us. And to our listeners, if you have any burning questions, please send an email to aqt@nagaro.com or connect with us on LinkedIn.